Thank you, BW Healthcare, for giving us the opportunity to raise our voice today for patient safety as well as safety of the doctors. I'll not take too much of time into introductions. I'll straight away move into the topic and not keep you away from lunch too long. Patient safety is very critical when we are dealing with healthcare to avoid issues of errors, infection, accidents, injuries caused to the patients while they are receiving any form of treatment during their course of illness. It's very pertinent an issue to maintain this patient safety for the trust that the patient puts in while he's being treated with us, and it also has a very, very strong or positive impact on the outcomes that any healthcare or any treatment that we offer to the patient. So let's delve into various aspects of this very important and pertinent topic. Towards the end, we will also discuss about some topics which are burning as of now about the safety of doctors also that we are seeing of late happening in our country. So moving with my first question, Ms. Nadira Chaturvedi, could you please explain the concept of patient safety from your perspective, as you have vast experience of dealing with this?
Is this on? Good afternoon. Is this on? Yes, it's working. Thank you, BW, and thank you all for waiting before lunch. Thanks for that question, ma'am. I really have not been in this business for too long, except for all the years that we have observed, suffered, experienced issues regarding safety, but not as professionals. All of us here, I'm going to ask one simple question. I know everybody's clinical, everybody's medical, everybody's professional. How many of us, how many of you are patients? How many of you are caregivers to patients? I think everybody should be there, or potential patients. So I'm not talking on behalf of a person, I'm talking as a collective. We got into this business of patient safety 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because of CAHO, who promoted Patients for Patient Safety Foundation to get into the area of people, common people like us. While CAHO does quality and safety trainings for the healthcare professionals, they chose us to do something with the patients, with the common people. So we went into this with no idea about what is called patient safety, but we very quickly learned in the very first conference, and I think Dr. Saab was there as well to teach us, that this is an incomplete phrase. It cannot be complete unless we talk about medical harm. I'm not talking about security. I'm not talking about a female patient being looked at by a male doctor without the presence of another female. No, I'm not going there. But the many, many errors, harm that could be avoided if there was a consciousness about safe culture, about safety throughout the patient journey, is what we are looking at, and that is my definition. I'll demonstrate with just one example, or rather two. If I do not report my symptoms in time, what can the doctor do? If I delay, if I hide, if I cover up, if I'm shy about saying I'm bleeding and I don't want to talk about it and I end up with cervical cancer, that's not the doctor's fault. But if, and these are real cases I'm talking about, if for 2 years with clinical symptoms, a dear person, a very, very dear friend of mine, a dear person in my life, goes to the dentist, but he's never checked for cancer until it's too late for cure. Whose fault is it? To me, that is unsafe. There's another side to it as well. On the last day, on the second day of my last chemo, this was several years ago, so it was my 6th cycle, I went in for my usual chemotherapy, great experience. You have your paneer sandwich, you lie down, the nurse comes, she puts the cannula. I settle down for my 4 hours of transfusion. Within half an hour, my daughter, thank God she was with me, she noticed that I was cold, perspiring, sweating, and whatever I was reading fell from my hands, and the book fell down. This is not normal. Immediately she called, she rang the call bell. A nurse came in. We asked for the doctor. There were 100 doctors in the hospital. Nobody was on duty because they were attending a conference, just like us. But the nurse quickly brought something, injected it to me, and she revived me. 4 players here. Me as a patient, my daughter as an attendant and a caregiver, the nurse as a professional, but the winner of was the system of the hospital. That was a safe hospital. And the advice, I thanked the doctor when I chose a hospital. He said, don't choose a doctor, choose a system. To me, that is patient safety. It's a culture. It's preventing errors, it's protecting errors, and all this is happening in good hospitals. So when we went to these conferences, and as a patient, my job was to see what can we do. We soon realized that all of you, all the doctors, the AIs, the technology, the robotics, I heard so many wonderful things, are doing so much for us. Nobody is doing anything with us. I am not doing anything about it as a person, as a patient. And we turned around our entire mission and we said, no, let's not take coals to Newcastle. We are nobody to teach you all what you all do. We doff our hats at the dedication, the intelligence, and the passion with which you all work. So we said, okay, let's clean our house and let's us start safety, medical errors, awareness, and education for people of all ages, all diseases, generic, disease-specific, anything in the patient journey. And so we widened the horizon. The safety, ma'am, as you said, is not only in the hospitals. The dangers begin before we reach the hospital. The dangers continue after we reach home. So if I take 3 zones, it's before, during, and after. Both are players. Both can make mistakes. The healthcare as well as patients. The good part is that with the right education. So what is the gap? What is the problem? Who's the perpetrator? Lack of awareness. The cyber, whatever, it was a lovely word, hypochondriac, cyberchondriac, I love that, right? But that is confusing. That is too much information. We are simplifying it, we are making it elementary, starting from scratch, and explaining not just the harm and the dangers of the medical harm, but how we can be partners in patient safety. So our entire orientation is my health, my responsibility. It's not only your responsibility. I'm not just a recipient, I'm going to be a partner in my health. And I hope I get more time to explain that part later on, but that's what we do, and that's what we offer each of you, and that is, to me, the definition of patient journey.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You really beautifully explained it to each one of us. And I think the later part of the discussion, I will definitely give more time to explaining how we engage with the patients. So taking from the last discussion that we had on technology and taking it a little forward, as you said, at the hospitals as well as healthcare systems are constantly evolving or constantly putting in SOPs in place, a system in place wherein patients are given quality care. So taking this question to Mr. Raj, could you please elaborate, how do you see the change in the technology? Is it going to raise the bars or the standards of healthcare which is delivered? Do you see any change happening with that?
Before giving the answer to this question, I will talk a little bit about patient safety because it's the topic which touches me a lot. Then I will come to the technology part.
Okay, sir.
Please allow me some.
Yeah, please.
Because we move mountains for patient safety. I will give you an example from our ancient Ramayana. मेघनाथ ने लक्ष्मण को एक वेपन से मूर्छित कर दिया. अब देखिएगा पूरा सिस्टम मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि पेशेंट सेफ्टी में क्या क्या चीज इंक्लूड होती है. एक पूरा सिस्टम, जैसे अभी मैडम चतुर्वेदी ने बोला कि सिस्टम काम करता है पेशेंट सेफ्टी के लिए. मेघनाथ ने वेपन से लक्ष्मण को मूर्छित कर दिया. ये सबसे बड़ी प्रायोरिटी थी कि लक्ष्मण को बचाया जाए. तो राम ने जो अपने फिजिशियन थे, जो हेल्थ केयर के एक्सपर्ट थे, उनको बुलाया कि लक्ष्मण जिंदा होना चाहिए, क्योंकि लक्ष्मण खत्म, वॉर एंड. फिर जो हम पढ़ते हैं कि आउटकम उसका क्या हुआ, वो शायद डिफरेंट होता अगर लक्ष्मण चला जाता. तो आप देखिए इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ पेशेंट सेफ्टी एंड हेल्थ केयर इकोसिस्टम. राम ने अपने एक्सपर्ट्स को बुलाया अपने फिजिशियंस को बुलाया, अपने हेल्थ केयर के जितने भी प्रोफेशनली कंपिटेंट थे सबको बुलाया कि लक्ष्मण को देखो। बट किसी को भी समझ में नहीं आया, क्योंकि वेपन एक्सपर्टाइज वहां से बना हुआ था, उसका एंटीडोट भी उन्हीं के पास था। रावण का ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या था कि सामने वाले उसको डैमेज किया जाए, और उसने बहुत सही टारगेट लिया, सही टारगेट राइटली प्लेस किया मेघनाथ को कि यह गेम चेंजर हो सकता है, और रावण यही चाहता था कि गेम चेंजर हो। लेकिन जब उनको समझ में आ गया, देखिए टाइम कहां वेस्ट हुआ राम के एंड पे, कि वो हेल्थ केयर प्रोफेशनल्स है वो प्रॉपरली डायग्नोस नहीं कर पाए कि ये कैसे वापस जो इनकैपेसिटेट हुआ, जो मूर्छित हुआ, उनसे कैसे लाया जाए। काफी टाइम वेस्ट हुआ। तो जैसे मैडम ने कहा ना कि टाइम वेस्ट नहीं होना चाहिए। अल्टीमेटली वैद्य सुषेण को बुलाया गया, डॉक्टर सुषेण आए, उन्होंने बताया कि ये जो प्रॉब्लम है, इस प्रॉब्लम का सॉल्यूशन कहां है। सो हनुमान जी को भेजा गया कि आप मेरू पर्वत पे जाइए, वहां से संजीवनी लेके आइए। अब हनुमान जी के सामने टाइम कम था, क्योंकि एक सब्सटेंशियल टाइम जो है वो खत्म हो, लॉस हो गया था। सब्सटेंशियल टाइम
हमारे पास भी कम है।
मैम आई विल कंप्लीट इन 2-3 मिनट। सो ऑब्स्टिकल एंड डिस्ट्रक्शन, दो चीजें बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है। हनुमान वहां गए मेरू पर्वत पे, उनको समझ में नहीं आया कि क्या करना है। ही मूव द माउंटेन्स, जो मैंने कहा ना, पेशेंट सेफ्टी के लिए हमारे एंशिएंट जो हमारा वैल्यू सिस्टम है कि हमने माउंटेन्स मूव किए हैं, तो पेशेंट सेफ्टी के लिए प्रेजेंट टाइम में भी हमें माउंटेन्स भी मूव करने पड़े, हमें पेशेंट सेफ्टी के लिए करने चाहिए। सो वहां पे ये हुआ कि क्या करना है, पूरा माउंटेन आया। कई लोगों ने डिस्ट्रक्शन किया कि नहीं रास्ता ये है, कालनेमी करके वो एक थे रावण के सोल्जर, उन्होंने किया, बट वो ऑब्स्टिकल, उन्होंने डिस्ट्रक्शंस नहीं हुआ। रास्ते में भरत ने भी डिस्ट्रक्ट करने की कोशिश करी, ऑब्स्टिकल क्रिएट किया, लेकिन हनुमान अल्टीमेटली लेके आ गए, और वो उनको दिया गया। सुषेण को प्रॉपरली विदा किया। न तो रावण ने सुषेण की क्लास ली कि यार मेरा जो ऑब्जेक्टिव था लक्ष्मण को मारने का, तुमने वो पूरा पर्पस डिफीट कर दिया। रावण ने क्लास नहीं ली, क्योंकि वो प्रोफेशनल एथिक्स थे, वो इकोसिस्टम था। सो इधर राम ने भी उनको पूरा, ये नहीं कि मेरे शत्रु का डॉक्टर तो मैं इसको खत्म कर दूं, या रावण ने कोई पनिशमेंट नहीं दिया, तो पूरा इकोसिस्टम जो है उसमें हमें कंप्लीटली फोकस रहना चाहिए, कोई ऑब्स्टिकल्स नहीं आना चाहिए, कोई डिस्ट्रक्शंस नहीं आना चाहिए। तो पूरा इकोसिस्टम जो है वो इस तरीके से होना चाहिए पेशेंट सेफ्टी के लिए कि अगर माउंटेन भी मूव करना पड़े, वी शुड मूव द माउंटेन, पेशेंट सेफ्टी, बिकॉज पेशेंट सेंट्रिक ट्रीटमेंट होना चाहिए। बाकी सारी चीजें सेकेंडरी है। नाउ आई कम टू द टेक्नोलॉजी। देखिए आजकल जितना भी डाटा है, एक तो यूज ऑफ एआई एंड डाटा इज आल्सो एक्ट एज ए संजीवनी, क्योंकि जैसे आप डॉक्टर को डाटा अवेलेबल कराते हो, आपके पास एक फाइननेस आता है, एक प्रिसीजन ट्रीटमेंट आता है, इंडिविजुअल स्पेसिफिक ट्रीटमेंट आता है। तो डाटा का बहुत बड़ा रोल है। एक आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, मुझे भी पता है, मैं भी आपको मेरा एक रिसेंट एग्जांपल देता हूं। मैं भी रशिया गया था सेंट पीटर्सबर्ग इंटरनेशनल इकोनॉमिक फोरम में पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए। वहां पे एक साइंटिस्ट मुझे मिले कि मैं इंडिया में आके 5000 ब्लड सैंपल पे मैं रिसर्च करूंगा, मुझे वॉइस रिकॉर्डिंग चाहिए। तो मैंने कहा वॉइस रिकॉर्डिंग का क्या करोगे? देयर वर द सीरीज ऑफ डिजीज। फॉर एग्जांपल कैंसर में अगर वो फर्स्ट स्टेज, सेकंड स्टेज, थर्ड स्टेज आती है, तो पेशेंट की आवाज कैसे वो चेंज होती है, वो रिकॉर्ड हम करेंगे, उससे हम डिवाइस बनाएंगे और उस डिवाइस को हम अवेलेबल कराएंगे। देखिए पूरा हेल्थ केयर इकोसिस्टम, देयर आर द 4 A's। वन इज द अफोर्डेबिलिटी, देन एक्सेसिबिलिटी, अवेलेबिलिटी एंड अवेयरनेस। ये 4 A's होते हैं जो पूरे हेल्थ केयर इकोसिस्टम की इफेक्टिवनेस लेके आते हैं। तो कल को हम उस, मान लीजिए कोई फॉर एग्जांपल कोई भी कैंसर का वो है, आप उसकी आवाज के मॉड्यूलेटर से वो डिवाइस बता देगी कि कौन सा स्टेज चल रहा है, क्या वो है। सो ये एआई आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का वो है। डाटा मैंने जैसा बोला संजीवनी का बिल्कुल वो है। सो हमें इस तरीके का इकोसिस्टम बनाना पड़ेगा कि हम कैसे हेल्थ केयर उसको मोस्ट इफेक्टिव लेके आए और जो लास्ट माइल पे जो खड़े हुए हैं उनको इसका मैक्सिमम बेनिफिट मिले। थैंक यू मैडम।
थैंक यू। Taking this question itself a little forward, we're very fortunate to have you with us today, sir. So my next question is to you, Dr. Pawan. How do you suggest that this patient safety can be brought to the forefront?
Thank you, Dr. Swati. Thank BW Healthcare for having me here and giving me this opportunity to share my experiences with all of you. Well, you see, a long time back in 2005, we started NABH. And I am one of the founder members of NABH, and that's where we started the focus on patient safety. And till date, from 2005 till 2024, the same question is being asked: how do you bring patient safety to the forefront? That means in 19 years, patient safety is not in the forefront. WHO has stated in the year 2014 that there is chance of harm in healthcare is 1 is 10. In 2024 on the website, the WHO continues to say the chance due to healthcare errors is 1 is to 10. There has been no improvement. There have been an Institute of Medicine report which has stated so many 44 to 98,000 Americans die every year because of medication errors. It followed up by another report which says that how to bridge this gap. But down the line in 2024, nothing significant has happened. So this question still remains pertinent: how to bring patient safety to the forefront. The only way it can be brought to forefront is what she said, is to create awareness. He also said the same thing: create awareness. The first A is create awareness. This is one forum for creating awareness amongst healthcare professionals. But we have not only to create awareness amongst healthcare professionals, we have to create awareness in the community. We have to create awareness in the society. And we have to use all technology, all digital media, all modes of communication to create that awareness. I know there are patient safety conferences done every year by Apollo Group of Hospital, and this year it is in Delhi, the next year is in Delhi in February and March. We discuss a lot of clinical administrative issues related to patient safety. We talk about systems, the system should be in place. She narrated once the systems, but have every hospital got their system in place? Sorry to say, no. even NABH accredited hospitals do not have systems in place for patient safety as yet. To get those systems in place, you require a cultural change. To get that cultural change into place, we have to change our attitudes, change our mindsets. This has not happened. It needs to happen at every level. The next thing that we need to do is, after having systems in place, after implementing them and monitoring them, we need to ensure priority areas of focus, where our focus should be, because patient safety is a vast subject. Believe me, it is no longer freedom from unintended harm due to healthcare interventions and healthcare facility and environment. It is a discipline now which requires all patient safety incidents to be collected, to be reported, to be monitored, analyzed, and action taken to be disseminated to everybody without revealing the identity of the healthcare organization, of the patient, and of the staff involved. And lastly, the most important aspect of bringing patient safety to the forefront is what she represents, Patient for Patient Safety Foundation, that is engage patient. Patient engagement in his own care and in patient safety incidents in the hospital is very, very important. And here it is just not telling him to talk about his symptoms, because he's the main person who stays 24 hours in the healthcare setting. He's in the hospital 24 hours. He knows about his symptoms. He also knows what is happening around him. So what is the environment in which he's staying? Is it safe or not? He can feel it. He can perceive it. He may not be knowledgeable about it. So our duty is to first inform him, then involve him, and then make him a partner in his own care and partner in patient safety in the hospital, in the healthcare setting. I think I'll stop here.
Yes, thank you so much. I think I'll give that opportunity to Nadira ma'am, as she wanted to talk about this, and I think, yeah. Ma'am, could you just elaborate on how really what are the steps? Do we talk about it?
We've taken two strategies. The two keywords, the gaps were awareness and communication. Hold this in mind. Now, the awareness is on part of the patients. We are not talking about, well, not yet, or not directly, let it be indirectly. Creating reliable, simple education material is what we do at the foundation, which is generic, how to meet a doctor, how to keep your records in order, how to take how to choose an accredited hospital, thanks to NABH. But we don't know the word accredited. I just know there's NABH written or NABL written. I don't even know whether it's valid for 4 years. Now I know, but nobody else knows. So generic to specific, to NCDs, the non-communicable diseases. Was it just a headache, or really do I have hypertension? I mean, what is the meaning of urinating often and my wounds not healing? Is it diabetes? So we are creating material which is aggregated from the best, thanks to CAHO, thanks to global technology, but simplifying it. 5 top reasons, causes, symptoms of a possible disease. 5 with hope. 5 actions I can take to prevent or protect myself from harm. We do not give clinical advice, but we offer them, please see a doctor if you have A, B, C, D, E, F. So there is a very simplified, Google Translate is genuine translations. Pictorial, visual, it's available on the websites. We are pushing it out with collaborations from large corporates, and we've got about 25 lakh people already getting direct mailers every week, because it's not going to happen alone. We need each of you, each of the hospitals, each of the people here to further hub and spoke it to everybody. Social media, websites, conferences, podcasts, the whole game is available thanks to technology. So in a nutshell, awareness about possible harm, about the risks, the causes and the consequences is one part of it. But if I say it, it may not be that impactful. If Dr. Pawan says it, it's going to be 100x more impactful. So we are reaching into hospitals, through the hospitals, to the patients. See, both of us have the same target audience. Our goal is the same, our intention is the same. So just last month, there was a brainstorming of 80 people, 90 people through CAHO, and we've come out with 3 actionable white papers, touch points, in engaging. I'm coming to the engaging part. When do you engage with patients? When I'm entering the hospital, I'm vulnerable, I'm nervous, I'm scared, don't give me gyan. When I'm getting discharged, I cannot hear. Billing, insurance, TPA, reports, patient, medicines, I'm lost. But maybe it can begin right from the day when I make my call and take my appointment. Instead of giving me that record, this call will be recorded for quality purposes only, blah, blah, blah. Just tell me, bring your previous papers, bring your appointment, bring your test reports, bring your prescriptions, bring your doubts, write it down. Maybe that will help. So you engage with us at every point, from the beginning of the appointment, the OPD, the consultation, the tests, the IP sections, and all the reviews. This is on a surface level, and we're giving this to the healthcare in a paper, mistakes that can happen, the role of HCPs, healthcare providers, and the role of patients. But deeper than that, engagement, as you rightly said, is a culture. We have to get the safety culture, and we are happy and proud to say that we found tremendous response, tremendous feedback on what a strategic tool, patient advisory councils. We launched this last year. It's not even been 12 months. And a lot of people have come forward and say, we've begun it. What is it? It is a strategic tool to ensure sustainability of engaging with patients, of getting all the people, the doctor, the nurse, the trainer, the dietitian, the pharmacist, into a cross-functional team, and beginning with the incident reporting, and thank you for saying that. Incident reports are just hidden. Change the name, call it a learning report. Don't be afraid. Reward them if they do it. Analyze it, do the root cause analysis, find solutions, and the patient and the healthcare givers who are partners in the advisory board will in turn communicate best practices from real life experiences to the masses. See, theory is different, but practical is what hurts. My life matters to me. Your hurt matters to you. Let's make that and not just regret having it, but converting it into something movable. We are putting it in training curriculums. We're even starting it in MHA colleges. People are reaching out to us for PhD guidance, for a course curriculum. And the students, I think, are all youth. I believe in youth. They are the future. I mean, 40 under 40, you all are the future. So put it now. Put it in their DNA. I just heard somebody, nobody taught us to talk to a patient. They talked us about intestines and anatomy and forensics, but nobody taught us to talk to a patient. Please listen to us. We're not so dumb. So we've also created a listening paper. When to listen, what to listen, how to use our listen. And it's not a feedback. Are you okay, ma'am? Yes, I'm okay, ma'am. Just get rid of her because right now the nurse is putting the cannula. Wrong time, that black suited, white shirt girl comes with a TikTok heels and she says, "Are you okay, ma'am?" I just want to get rid of her and I say, "I'm okay, ma'am." And she puts 5 on 5. So that NPS score is all rubbish. Don't believe it. Go deeper. And that is what we mean by creating a culture and really truly engaging. And if you build that trust, caregiver forums, patient support forums, we will listen, we will talk, and we will take it back. Remember, we depend upon you all. We will always be vulnerable. We will always put you on a pedestal. Take it as an engagement on a certain level, on a deeper level. Talk to us, listen to us, use our knowledge, and let's together partner in this healthcare. That's what we do. And to me, that is engagement, not just a superficial feedback form. Thank you, ma'am.
I think if we sum up that entire beautiful conversation that we had with you, empathy is one word that I would say is the root where everything starts. So if every time we go to a patient, be it a doctor or a junior doctor or a nurse or a ward boy or a ward girl, whoever goes to the patient, if they treat that patient as one among their family members and try to understand what they are going through, I think maximum job is done there itself. We'll be able to achieve most of what you already spoke about, ma'am. I think the rest of the questions already have been answered, most of them. I think I will take this opportunity to go one step ahead and talk about, we've talked about doctor safety, creating a doctor safety net in terms of documenting the errors, bringing it up, encouraging them, and make a system such that people do not feel that they are answerable in a wrong way, or they are scrutinized, or they are punished, but encourage them only to learn from their own mistakes is where we can create a safety net to report these errors only to learn from our mistakes and do much better. I'll take this opportunity to ask Dr. Urvashi, who's here, who's been a person who's pivotal in the healthcare reforms and have been I think she's been there and gone through all of it, and we've been having discussions since morning. So I really want to ask this question to you. What do you feel about the situation of doctors in the country, and what can be done about their safety?
Thank you, Dr. Swati. Very quickly, I can see the clock ticking. So I was not supposed to be part of this panel, but Dr. Swati, when she asked me, I couldn't resist, because this is a topic I'm very, very passionate about. So I think, obviously I echo with all the views that have been expressed in terms of, need for more education of patients, more awareness, empathy from, all stakeholders. But I think a couple of points. One, I think part of the challenge has been that the way we understand, a doctor, our health system is actually very heterogeneous. A lot of the people are dealing with people on the other side who might not even have the requisite qualifications, the requisite quality, and we commonly refer to them as quacks and all kinds of things. But the fact is that they exist. The fact is that a lot of such people are providing healthcare to patients, and I think that has partly created a problem because, sometimes if there is a bad experience there, then patients sort of obviously carry that forward to, all their other future interfaces with the health system. So I think that is one part of our problem, is that we have this great degree of heterogeneity, informality, problems with qualifications, etc. But I think in terms of what we need to do, you mentioned this case recently, and there have been several such cases actually, where there's been violence against doctors or there's been crimes and atrocities committed. So I think there's a huge call right now that, we should have new policy, we should have new legislation. And while, you can always look at that, I think my very firm belief is that it is implementation that we are lacking in. And we often have a lot of policies, legislations, but they remain on paper. So I wouldn't be in favor of just bringing in, something additional. without thinking about how will we actually implement it, monitor it, enforce it. And I think that is something that, of course, state governments have a very big role to play in our situation where health is predominantly a state subject. So I think the implementation part is what we need to hold our whoever be our local, stakeholders, representatives accountable, because I think they are accountable for the safety of everybody in a health facility, whether it's the patient, whether it's the attendant, whether it's the health personnel, the doctors, the nurses, anybody. So I think that to that extent, that responsibility already exists. It's just that it is not enforced, and a lot of times people are not questioned when they fail on that responsibility. So I think before we rush into a new legislation or a new policy or I think we should look at how do we improve our implementation of what we already have.
I have been seeing letters which have been framed by IMA, different IMAs all over the country. There have been letters being written by Padma Shri awardees in the field of medicine. There have been individual letters. I just saw the other day Dr. Vishal Rao, who's a head and neck oncosurgeon from HCG Bangalore. He has written a personal note, personal letter to the Prime Minister asking him to address this issue and address the issue of safety, providing more safety and the norms which he wants all of us. Everybody has been asking for new reforms or new systems or new rules or laws to come into place. But the fact of the matter is we already have rules and laws. They are there. The only problem is that people who are committing these crimes are getting away with it, even though the law exists. So I think we should not, the take home message should be, we should not let go of this. Gone is like few weeks from now, the whole fraternity of doctors was on WhatsApp and everywhere. Each of us was crying for it and each of us was putting out messages. Now this team has gone down. I would want each of you who's a doctor over here or not, everybody to still continue this urge or this movement for the safety of doctors. Of course, we doctors do urge the safety of our individuals, our parents, our family, our patients. I think the same needs to exist from, the same feeling needs to be reciprocated to the doctors as well by the entire society. I think, yeah.
There is no excuse, absolutely. There is no justification for that violence. And I think as an individual, on behalf of all the patients we work for, with, and on behalf of all the people, I just render my unequivocal apology for that ghastly act. I have no more words.
I think there is one more thing which I want to say. We engage patients for their safety. Please, doctors, engage yourself for your safety. Because you are not involving yourself in your own safety. You're looking after patient safety, everybody's safety. But when it comes to your safety, you are not voicing your concerns. You are not even reporting these incidences, and you're just pushing it under the carpet. Okay, minor incident, leave it. No. Please understand, as is required for patient safety, same involvement is required for doctors to be engaged in their own safety. That is the only way the systems are going to work. No amount of legislation, no amount of, there is legislation in the states available. Punishment is available. But nothing happens because what she correctly said, implementation mechanisms are poor, monitoring mechanisms. You have CCTVs. Believe me, in accreditation I have gone and checked. There is nobody who is seeing what is happening on the TV and the monitor. Nobody is there to see what is happening. So you have all installations, but no implementation, no monitoring. So doctors, please, healthcare professionals, all of you, doctors, nurses, paramedics, technicians, please take care and involve yourself in your own safety. I think doctors' engagement in their own safety is as important as patient engagement in patient safety.
There is a need to change the perception. There is a need to change our view. We have to transform from process orientation to accountable and responsible ecosystem we have to create. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि सुबह वो पेशेंट कहाँ गया, बोले जी वो चला गया, नेक्स्ट दूसरा लेके आओ. एक बेड खाली नहीं हुआ है, एक परिवार में से एक आदमी चला गया है. सो आई एम अकाउंटेबल एंड रेस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दिस पेशेंट. एक कनेक्ट बनता है, एक इमोशनल कनेक्ट बनता है. उस कनेक्ट में से एम्पैथी एंड कंपैशन बनता है. तो डॉक्टर सेफ्टी के लिए भी एक जरूरी है। दूसरा, अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ हेल्थ केयर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर। हिंदुस्तान में 30 मिनट में पिज्जा आ जाता है, बट 30 मिनट में एम्बुलेंस नहीं आती है। वी हैव टू थिंक ओवर इट।
Promise that will be part of our patient education material. That's all I can promise.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I thank you all the panelists for such a great discussion we had. I know this is a very, very sensitive topic that we have been touching, and unfortunately time's not on our side today. But I'm sure on WhatsApp groups and the group that we have created, we'll keep sharing the same feelings that we have for our safety as well as for our patient safety, and keep working for the same in future. Thank you so much.